Let's get into it today, guys. All right. Wide receivers. This is one of the most important positions on this roster, of any roster, sure, but especially for this Illinois team who is getting about 85% of their roster back. Their two biggest losses in Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin, both at the wide receiver position. So the wide receivers are certainly going to look different this year. We're going to need some transfers to step up. We're going to need some recruits to step up, perhaps. We're going to need some guys who didn't really play last year to really step it up, even guys who did play last year. Someone's going to have to fill those shoes. Those are two very big pairs of shoes to fill in Bryant and Franklin. So let's see what our 15 wide receivers are on the spring roster for the Illini right now. Let's see what these 15 guys have to offer. So we have 5 returners who did get in a game last year. That is Hank Beatty, Malik Elzy, Alexander Kapka-Jones, Colin Dixon, and Ashton Hollins. Then there are 6 returners who did not get in a game last season. Those are Mario Sanders II, Michael Bortolotta, Morrison Gidgets, Carson Kaiser, Tyler McClure, and Carlos Orr Gillespie. We then have 2 transfers. That is Hudson Clement and Justin Bowick. And then 2 new true freshman recruits in Braden Trimble and Tyshawn Griffin. All right. So today we're going to start out with the returners who did play last year, right? These are going to be the guys you're most familiar with. These are going to be the guys, besides the transfers, of course, most likely to fill those shoes. We're going to do these guys, then we're going to do the transfers, then we're going to do the guys who are returning but did not play, and then we're going to cap it off with our 2 freshmen. All right, so first up is Hank Beatty, number 80. That's going to be the most recognizable name on this list for anyone who watched their games last year. He is a senior. He played in every game last year. He was more of a return man. He did still get some reps at wide receiver. He had 20 receptions for 294 yards and a touchdown. He also had 1 carry for 11 yards in there. But his punt returning was far and away his best skill this past season and throughout his entire career with the Illini. He was 4th in the nation last year, 14.1 yards per return on punts. And he was also all Big Ten third team, named by the media as a return specialist. His best game, though, at wide receiver, he did have quite a game against the Gamecocks in the Citrus Bowl. He had 4 receptions for a career-high 90 yards, including a 59-yard reception. So he certainly showed some of that explosive ability that he already have seen on punt returns, but showed at wide receiver, too, had a really nice game in the Citrus Bowl. Love to see that. He's proven punt returner, right? He's going to be starting as a punt returner again, barring any disaster, right? That should be a given. He was all Big Ten third team. It's unclear how much of a role he's going to have as a receiver, right? He didn't get a ton of reps last year at the wide receiver position, but when he did, he was good. He's definitely a deep ball threat. He's very fast as well. He's good on some give and goes. That's what that 59-yard reception was. Excited for him, and he's probably the most likely candidate of the returning players to really step up into a starting role in the wide receiver core. Next up is going to be Colin Dixon. He is number 17. He is a junior. He also played in every game last year and did have a catch in all of them. He is the only receiver on this Illinois roster returning that did actually have a catch in every game. He had 18 receptions for 264 yards on the season. His best game was against Purdue. He had just 2 catches, but it went for 69 yards, in large part helped by a 41-yard reception. Didn't get a whole lot of receptions, right? He only got like 1 to 2 a game, right? But lots of 20-yard, 30-yard catches. Every time he got the ball, he was getting you a big gain. So there's definitely some explosive ability in Colin Dixon. He's a junior now, upperclassman. Definitely expect him to step up as well as probably, besides Hudson Clement, who I'll get to later, their biggest deep ball threat, without a doubt. Next is Malik Elzy, number 8. He is also a junior. He played in 9 of their games last season, had a catch in 3 of those 9. Those games were EIU, Nebraska, and then the Citrus Bowl, where he had catches. A lot of people got involved in the Citrus Bowl. Big part of that is because Pat Bryant did not play. Zachary Franklin did play in the Citrus Bowl. So that's why we saw some guys step up, like Hank Beatty had his biggest game in the Citrus Bowl, right? The run game, I was talking about the running backs last week. Josh McCray was the MVP of the Citrus Bowl, right? A lot of other guys got to step up without Pat Bryant, and that's going to be what we're going to see even more so now without Zachary Franklin. So he got a catch in the Citrus Bowl as well. 4 catches overall across those 3 games, 77 yards. He did have a touchdown as well. That is a slight improvement on his 2023 line as a freshman. His best game was against EIU. That's when he caught that touchdown in the first game of the year. He had 2 receptions for 51 yards. He's going to need to step it up for sure. I mean, he only had 4 catches last year, so he's definitely going to see a bigger role this year, right? He just was kind of buried on that depth chart. But we should get to see Malik a lot more this year. He didn't really light up the stat sheet. Not to say that Dixon and Beatty did, but not quite to the same extent as they did, right? 4 catches is quite a bit of drop-off, at least in playing time. And he didn't even get into 4 of their games. Only had a catch in 3 of them. Didn't really do much except for, the 51-yard and 1 touchdown game. That was against EIU. Maybe he'll torch Western Illinois first game of the year this year. But other than that, we really haven't seen what Malik Elsley can do against the high-tier competition, right? We haven't seen him take a regular role. He's just in for a rep or 2 every once in a while. So he's definitely going to get an increase in playing time with this roster at running back this year. So look out for Elsley. There is a lot to be discovered about him still, even though he's been with the Illini 2 years. Next is Alexander Kapka Jones, number 7. He is a junior as well. A lot of juniors returning to the Illini at receiver. He played in 7 games, had 2 catches over the year. Those 2 catches went for 21 yards, so barely played. But, he did get in 7 of the games, at least 1 rep, even though if he wasn't getting the targets, that's certainly good. There's an overall lack of experience at wide receiver for this Illinois wide receiver core this year, especially for their returners. 6 of their 11 returners didn't even play in a game last year. So these are the guys that you're going to be stepping up, even though he had 2 catches. So it was his first career catch he made, actually, though, was a big 16-yard third down conversion in that Michigan State game. That was a crucial moment of that game. That was his first career catch. His second catch was in the Citrus Bowl, where he made his first career start as well. He had 1 catch that went for 5 yards. He's a very likely candidate to move up in playing time, especially since Bielema trusted him with getting that start in the Citrus Bowl after Pat Bryant sat out. So that's pretty big. I think he is going to maybe leapfrog a couple of guys on this depth chart, right? He has a start under his belt. None of these other guys do, other than the transfers. So that's pretty big for what we know right now about Alexander Kapka Jones. I just think him starting in their final game is a good sign that he's likely going to be starting or at least getting a big increase in playing time. Probably will see the biggest increase of anyone on this roster who got some playing time last year, right? Very excited for Alexander Kapka Jones in that opportunity. We'll see if he's starting again. Week 1, we got a long way to go till that happens. But we'll keep an eye on spring ball and see what he does there. The last returner who did get in a game last year is Ashton Hollins, number 2. He is a sophomore. He played in 4 games as a freshman last season. Before he was injured. He had 2 catches for 40 yards against EIU. He did not have any catches after that in the remaining 3 games, and then, again, could not finish the season, unfortunately. 2023, though, he had 9 receptions for 119 yards, and that was in 2023, 119 yards, 9 receptions. he has a good spot to be ahead of Kapka Jones and LZ since he was hurt, and he got in every game before he was hurt, right? And he put up over 100 yards in the season before that. That's nothing amazing, right? I mean, teams have guys that can put that up in one game, but compared to some of the stats I've been reading, that's pretty monumental that he was able to pull that off. He is a junior, to correct myself from before. I thought that was weird because I had stats for him from 2023, but I said he's a sophomore. He is a junior. As my apologies. That is Ashton Hollins, and that does it for the returning wide receivers. We now have two major transfers coming in, and these transfers are both going to be a big deal on this roster. First, wearing number 13 here is Hudson Clement. He is a junior transferring from West Virginia. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. He signed on January 2nd to join Illinois out of the transfer portal, along with his brother, defensive back Murphy Clement. They are both joining the Illini. He started in 12 of West Virginia's 13 games last year. He had 51 receptions for 741 yards, 5 touchdowns. He instantly brings the most experience and the most playing time from last year to this Illinois roster. This is our wide receiver one, without a doubt. And this will prove it, right? His best game, West Virginia played in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. That's a mouthful. Against number 25 Memphis. He had 11 catches, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Fantastic game. He also torched Kansas. I love to see anybody torch Kansas. I hate Kansas. He had another 150-yard plus game against Kansas. And also, if you want to learn even more about Hudson, the Illinois Instagram posted a couple days ago an interview with him at Spring Ball. That was very good. The content through Spring Ball has been fantastic from Illinois admin, so definitely check that out on the football team Instagram page for more info on him. But my opinion, just based off those stats alone, this is he's going to be the wide receiver one unless someone really takes a leap in spring, right? I think the only guy that has a chance to compete with him for that is the next guy I'm going to talk about, Justin Bowick. But I think right now he's a clear number one. He's got explosive big game potential, right? He dominated against the number 25 team in the nation, and he should see a big stat boost too, because West Virginia, I mean, they were 6-6 last year, right? I mean, he's definitely going to see improved play with a more seasoned, just better quarterback with Luke Altmaier, right? In a more efficient offense. He's definitely going to see an increase in those stats, can definitely flirt with 1,000 yards receiving. He's a great deep ball threat as well. I've seen some of his highlights. He's great with it on the deep balls specifically, but he really can do it all. He really can do it all. And in his interview on the Instagram, the team Instagram, he said that he's willing to do whatever this team needs him to do. They got lots of things to fill at wide receiver. Hudson Clement is very exciting transfer from West Virginia. Having his brother along will only motivate him more, I think, make him feel more at home. I'm really excited about him. I'm also really excited about the other transfer, who is our likely wide receiver too, and probably the only one that would give Clement some competition in spring ball. That is Justin Bowick. He's going to be wearing number 0. I love that. I love when dudes wear number 0. That's so cold. He is a junior as well. He is a transfer from Ball State. Shout out the Cardinals. I had 2 cousins go there. Chirp, chirp. He previously played at Eastern Illinois in 22 and 23. He signed here on December 21st. He has 2 seasons of eligibility left. He started in only 4 games for Ball State last year, and then he decided to redshirt the rest of the season. So we got a redshirt sophomore situation there at Ball State. When I read his stats, it's going to be very obvious as to why he decided to do that. He did that because he wanted to preserve an extra year of eligibility. And let's just say he knew he was going places, right? He moved up from EIU to Ball State, right? Moved up to the MAC. And then, in those 4 games, only 4 games he got in, 20 receptions, 383 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is a very impressive line for a 4-game span. So I think it was pretty obvious that he was going to be moving on up again. He has moved up from Eastern Illinois all the way to Illinois. We know how big of a jump that is after watching Illinois play Eastern Illinois. They obliterated them. His best game of that 4-game span was week 3. He had 8 catches for 171 yards and a touchdown against Miami of Ohio. And then the very next week, he followed up with another 7 catches for 148 yards and 2 more touchdowns against Buffalo. And then he said, I'm good, y'all. I'm going somewhere else. So he knew he was going somewhere else. So he preserved an extra year of eligibility just to play a second year at Illinois. So he and Clement are both around for the next 2 seasons. He also has an interview that went up a couple days before Clement's on the team Instagram. I would check that out as well. Really excited to see a guy who's completed a Power 4 rise, right? Obviously, he's been succeeding at every level he's played at. I think he's the obvious wide receiver 2, as I said earlier. I have a lot of hope for him. I think he can be for wide receiver 1 as well. We just haven't really seen him at this level, so it's hard to put him ahead of Clement right now in my own personal rankings, but we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be Bowick and Clement, the 2 transfers, running the show. They're going to be the new Bryant and Franklin. We'll see if they can live up to their legacy. But those are the 2 transfers to look out for. I'm really excited for those guys. And again, they both have interview videos up on the Illinois Instagram. All right. Returners who did not play. This is going to go a little quicker now because these are guys we don't have too many stats for. We have some junior college stats, some high school stats for these guys, but nothing crazy, right? So we're going to go through these a little quicker because these guys are very unlikely to see some playing time. If I'm being honest, they already didn't see playing time last year, but very glad to have them back. And you really do never know. So we're going to give everyone their moment on this show, even if they never get in a game. So first up, Mario Sanders, the second, number 1 is his number he's taking in spring. He is a junior. He did not play in a game with Illinois. It's his first year with Illinois last year as a sophomore. He transferred from Iowa Central Community College, where he played in 22 and 23. He redshirted in 22, though, so that's why he's still a junior. He tore up JUCO, though. He led the NJCAA. I didn't know that was an acronym until I was looking him up. He had 72 receptions, and which led the entire NJCAA. He also tied for the league lead with receiving touchdowns with 12. He had 500-yard games. He was also 3rd in receiving yards, forgot to mention that, and 4 multi-touchdown games. He torched JUCO. He didn't get in a game last year, but of all these guys who didn't play last year and are coming back to the Illinois roster, he's definitely the most likely to get some playing time. I could see him getting a few catches this season, right? Like certainly maybe like an Alexander Kappa-Jones, like a 2 catches, maybe a 4 catches kind of season incoming for him. I could see it. I really could see it, even though he didn't play last year. I have a fantastic stat line in JUCO. I mean, we haven't seen him compete at this level, but obviously that's got to mean something. Next up is Michael Bartolotta, number 18. He is a senior. He very, very strangely also transferred in before last season from Iowa Central Community College. I don't know what they're putting in the corn at Iowa Central Community College, but their receivers are all coming to Illinois. He played in 10 games in 2023 for Iowa Central CC. He had 23 receptions, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then before that, 2021, his freshman year, he did not play football. He played rugby at Illinois State. And he also is cousins with Michael and Jimmy Marchese, who both played for the Illini. My opinion, probably not going to see too much playing time. Really cool to have a legacy connection, though. I certainly think he has an interesting background. And that's so odd that he has that connection with Mario Sanders, the second of them, both playing at Iowa Central Community College for 2 years together. Now they're back together. And they were last year, too. Morrison Gidgets is next. He is number 20. He redshirted last year, so this is his first true year of being on the roster. He was an all-conference performer and two-time national qualifier in track at Walter Payton College Prep, so there's certainly a speed threat in Morrison Gidgets. I also noted he's majoring in mechanical engineering. Most of these guys you see their major, it's like sport recreation, like communications or something. He's not messing around with his education, man. A mechanical engineer is on the football team. You don't see that very often. Congrats to Morrison Gidgets, man. I love to see that. Next is Carson Kaiser, number 28. He redshirted the 2024 season. He's originally from Weston, Florida. Pardon me. There was that cough. I was waiting for it all episode. He's originally from Western Florida. He went to Champaign Centennial High School, though, when he was time for him to go to high school. He's a 3-year letter winner there. He was also a special teams player of the year for them. His father, Jay, is the Illinois director of college personnel and an NFL liaison. That is certainly interesting. Excuse me. That's another cool family connection on this roster. Next is Tyler McClure, number 87. He was not on the roster in 24, actually, but he is still a returner because he walked on in 2023 as a sophomore and didn't play and then didn't get his spot back. He's back, at least for spring ball. It was very exciting. He came to Illinois in spring 2023. He played JUCO baseball, actually, at Kaskaskia College as a freshman. He has a whole lot of family connections. We thought the last two were like, oh, wow, that's cool legacy. I got a whole list for Tyler McClure. Ready? Okay. His father, Brian, played baseball at Illinois. It is 9th in school history in career home runs. His mother, Kelly, played volleyball at Illinois. He was all Big Ten first team. She was all Big Ten first team, pardon me, in 1996. His sister, Anna, currently plays volleyball at Ohio State. And his uncle, Todd, also played baseball at Illinois. What an athletic family. What an Illinois-based family, other than his sister who went to Ohio State, that traitor. Next is, and last, of the returning players who did not play last year, this is Carlos Gillespie, number 81. He's a redshirt freshman, signed in December 2023. He's a 3-star recruit out of high school from Etowah, Tennessee. He was an all-state selection. He also played basketball, was all-district there, scored over 1,000 career points. He had a lot of offers from basically every school in the MAC. So that's cool to see. So he's more of a recruit, really, than a returning member because he redshirted last year. We do have 2 recruits that I'm going to blow through right now. I told you guys, 15 guys. I didn't think it was going to take a whole episode, but here we are. Braden Trimble, number 11. He is a 3-star recruit from Mount Zion, Illinois. He is 9th in Illinois high school history with 215 receptions. He's also 16th in Illinois high school history in receiving yards. He also did some punt returning and was 3rd in Mount Zion history in punt return yards. He had a ton of other offers. He had offers from Arkansas, Auburn, Iowa, Iowa State, Michigan State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Wisconsin, just to name a few. He's a highly touted recruit, and I think he's going to get good playing time. Even as a freshman, right? There's kind of a noticeable gap after Clement and Bowick in terms of experience. So I think Trimble, even though he doesn't have experience, he's a true freshman. Very, very talented young man. I think he absolutely could get some playing time. This could be a future star. I really do think that. Next is Tyshawn Griffin. He's going to conclude this wide receiver group preview. He's number 83. He was a 4-star recruit, ranked a 4-star recruit by Rivals. He was a 3-star recruit, though by the other outlets, the main ones, that's 24/7 Sports, ESPN, and On3. He is from Chicago. He went to Morgan Park High School, and he was coached by former Illini wide receiver Chris James. And Rivals also has him as the number 20 wide receiver in the country. Rivals also one that said he's a 4-star. And number 12 overall in the state of Illinois. Very impressive. Is 4-year career at Morgan Park High School. He had 1,200 rush yards. So that's he's fast, obviously. He also had 401 receiving yards. So obviously looks like more of a wide receiver transition there from running back. 17 total touchdowns across running and receiving. He also played quarterback too. 44 tackles, 3 interceptions there on the defensive end. That's pretty ridiculous. Some other offers he got include Arkansas, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Kansas State, Louisville, Michigan State, Missouri, Tennessee, and Wisconsin.